Look at that. Perfect frame up.
No.
Oh, look, it's a perfect frame up. I'm in jail. Okay, so this is our Christmas special.
Yeah.
Ho, ho, ho.
You have the holiday spirit?
Maybe. I don't know. Do you?
I have the spirit of Ernest.
I am one with the Yuletide. So, are you wearing that hat for any particular reason?
Yeah, in honor of Ernest, one of the greatest characters.
Ernest P. Worrell.
Ernest Power Tools Worrell.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have any specific holiday traditions that you usually observe?
Nothing out of the ordinary, I don't think.
Yeah.
Regular stuff.
You don't go around killing your neighbors? like in a horror movie?
Yeah.
Every year I get a new set of neighbors.
I become unhinged.
Speaking of which, last week we did that, and you told all those stories about, like, well, I guess, you've seen, and I guess Trav had a story, but he never told me. So maybe one day he'll tell me his story, and we can
call into the 1-800 Buddy Shotz hotline and
call in live right now to the Buddy Shotz.
Yeah, I'm curious now to find out.
I'm pretty tame. I've never had something like that happen. I guess it's not really tame. That's just lucky, because it's not like you were like, yeah.
There's another one that I remembered, actually.
Okay.
One of my other family members is a truck driver.
Mm-hmm.
And got into an altercation with someone where they actually got out of their cars on the side of the road, and he was beaten almost to death with a chain.
Jesus! So, like your relative was.
Yeah.
Jesus, dude.
So I don't know, something about road rage in my family.
Being the victims of it, essentially, I guess. Good lord, dude, that's fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, it takes two sides to get out of your car and want to fight.
Right. But he got his ass beat with a chain for till he almost died?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That's crazy.
Merry Christmas.
On that note,
yeah.
That's our holiday episode. See you next time.
And we've holidays. It's over. Oh, looks like we have our we've got 2 Christmas gifts. We've got Yurimatsu Kevin, one of our close personal buddies, just resubscribed for 6.
Thanks, man.
They've been doing it for 6 months, and then Trav, Buddy had someone stomp out of their car and stomp his windshield. I guess that was his story. But they resubscribed. They've been subscribed for 29 months. That's out of control. Thank you,
awesome.
Both. Yeah, that's, I don't know. Like I said, I've never really had that thing, but this is just the beginning of the Christmas spirit.
We've got a lot to get to.
Yeah. This is going to be a fun episode, I'm pretty sure. Why are you laughing? Because you don't think it will?
We've got a lot to get to.
That's true. Okay. So, let's just get to our first segment. Near News, baby.
All right.
Ho, ho, ho. So, what are you going to talk about this week?
All right. My near news for this week is Sam Raimi. It's related to Sam Raimi.
What?
Because someone asked him about the infamous tree assault scene in Evil Dead 1.
Wait, what? Sam Raimi is related to Sam Raimi?
Sam Raimi, the news, is related to Sam Raimi.
Oh! I was like, is this a joke? What's going on right now?
Did you hear about this? Did you hear about this? Someone asked him about the infamous tree assault scene.
Right, yeah, in Evil Dead, yeah.
And here's what he said. Well, I think it was unnecessarily gratuitous and a little too brutal. And finally, because people were offended in a way that I didn't... My goal is not to offend people. It is to entertain, thrill, scare, make them laugh, but not to offend them. But I know that a lot of 19-year-olds that are stealing cars and murdering people. Not to make that comparison, but I think my judgment was a little wrong at the time. So that's almost nonsensical, but I think he was talking out of both sides of his mouth. He's basically saying it was too gratuitous, but also like I was making a movie, not actually killing people.
Right.
When I was 19 years old, and I say,
did somebody just randomly ask him? Like,
I don't know how it came up, but I say, stand by
your man,
stand by what you did, and like just because something bad happens in a movie doesn't mean like you support that thing.
Stand by what you did, Matt.
I'm just saying.
I agree. I also want to point out that Matt's wearing not only like a jean shirt, but he's wearing jean pants.
Yeah, full denim.
Fucking awesome. He's
denim.
gone full Ernest. He's like the next evolution.
Next evolution of mankind.
You're the next evolution of Ernest. E squared. No, I agree.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't really understand why there would be any reason to even like bring that up. Like somebody should say like you shouldn't do that, because I mean you've got movies like Hostel and all kinds of other movies that have done it, and they're just movies. It's not like Sam Raimi made that and was like, well, now it's time to go rape someone. It's also like, it's like so ridiculous. Yeah, it's a tree that's possessed.
It's a comedy.
Yeah. It's like
it's...
I don't know. Like, to me, it's also like, it kind of goes to like how out of control that film is. Like, there's so much horror elements in it that like, I mean, it's supposed to be like dark horror, like
but it's
Cthulhu, also, like, stuff where like, stuff like that could happen. I mean, the first one's like got some humor in it, and the second one's just a straight up comedy. But like,
even the first one is so over the top. Like, it's designed to be an over the top, like crazy experience. So I don't know.
No, yeah, I don't think. I don't know. I don't really know who would bring that up to him in a way that would make him want to have to defend himself about it.
Yeah,
but. There are plenty of movies out there that like have stuff in them I don't want to watch, so I just don't watch them. I don't go out of my way to try to be like, this shouldn't be in a movie. Like,
but you also don't attack the filmmakers like, you support this kind of... It's like, no, that's what happened in the movie, which is a story.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Or you could be Quentin Tarantino and everybody's just like, this guy likes feet.
And he's like, that's just good directing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that.
So, I've been the downer on this episode, so...
Well, let's continue.
Lift us up.
With the downage.
Oh, no.
So, Kevin Feige, you know this guy?
You heard of this guy?
You know this guy? Says he believes Marvel films struggle to get Oscar nominations due to genre bias. Which I think is kind of bullshit, because, like, Batman won all those awards years ago. Like the Christopher Nolan ones.
Yeah.
I think it's... I don't know. Like, a lot of people, I think... Like he says, I think we're always...
Didn't Black Panther get nominated for an Oscar? For Best Picture?
Yeah, I think it might have.
So...
I think it's just... because that's one of the only ones out of all the Marvel movies that I went and saw and was like, wow, this is actually kind of, like, different, and like it's an actual movie. Whereas a lot of them were just kind of, like... Same old. I mean, the problem is also, I mean, you look, regardless of what you're making, if you made, like, it's kind of like you look at horror movies. If they were popping out a new, like, Friday the 13th or, like, Nightmare on Elm Street fucking movie every single year, people are going to get sick of it after a while, except for, like, the very, very hardcore people. Because, like, Marvel Mania was running wild, and then, like, only the hardcores of the hardcore really stuck around, because now people are just like, Like, no one's really going to see fucking Black Widow when it was out. No one really went and saw Shang-Chi.
I was going to say, like, Spider-Man just broke, like, all the records this week.
Well, I mean, that's different. Spider-Man's an actual hero. Not like Shang-Chi, I guess, isn't, but it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's also kind of like, it's oversaturation. If they had come out with Shang-Chi, like, last year, and, like, it was the only superhero movie Marvel put out, it would have been huge. But they also put it out in the same year as Black Widow and then Spider-Man, and then there's probably going to be like another one coming out at the beginning of next year. So like Marvel puts out like 3 or 4 superhero movies that are all related in one year. It's like, it's the whole reason why comic books, like, nobody really buys those anymore that I know of, because it's like, to fucking read one, you got to buy all the other ones. And it's like, dude, nobody's got time for that investment. Like, who could possibly care?
Nobody buys comic books anymore, Mike Moore.
Well, they don't really. I think
some do.
Well, the trend is down.
Is it?
I mean, why do you think they do? Like a lot of people do.
Just because I think a lot of people are into them.
Do you buy them?
No.
I prove my point.
Bulletproof logic on that one.
Matt doesn't buy them. The only other person I know that doesn't buy comics. No, I actually don't know anybody that does, honestly. That's the thing. It's like, I think like when we were younger, everybody was all into that kind of shit. But now it's like...
I wasn't.
You weren't?
Well, to get back to this, so like, he's right. Well, first of all, the Oscars, like, I think it's interesting to talk about them. But anyone who like truly cares about the Oscars is an idiot. Because, they're clearly...
I mean, all award shows are BS.
Yeah. But... having said that, I do agree with him. There is genre bias. Like, no horror movies or performances are hardly ever, no comedies are recognized.
Well, comedies are usually shit these days, so I don't blame them.
Well, that's a different story. But yeah, I mean...
No, I do know what you mean.
There's a type of movie that gets nominated for Oscars, and they're not Marvel movies or many other types of movies. So, yeah, duh. My response to that is, like, no duh. Everyone knows that.
I mean, even if it was, I don't know. I don't agree.
And he's wrong because his own movies are getting nominated for Oscars. So, right. Like, what are you talking about? Like, he's an idiot.
Well, he's also, like, I don't know. I don't really understand that whole thing because it's like, I think regardless of what it is, if you're making, like, a film and it's good enough, people will give it some sort of attention. And that's why I think a lot of people are interested to see, like, Spider-Man in general, because he's also a character that people like. Not that Shang-Chi isn't, but it's like, dude, that character, like, nobody knew who the fuck that was before, like, they made a movie about it. I'm sure people did, but, like, it's kind of like Guardians. Before they made Guardians, like, who the fuck knew who those people were in Marvel? Like, that'd be like if they made, like, it's like the same thing they're doing with, like, The Rock, with Black Adam in DC. It's like, who the fuck knew about that character except for, like, super hardcore nerds, So... oversaturation, it's one thing. I mean, like, I do kind of agree, like you said, with, like, genre bias. But, like, that's not truly, like he even says here, I love that for a shining moment there was with Black Panther that put aside the work was recognized for the achievement that it was. And I'm like, yeah, because it was actually, like, something that wasn't just straight up copy-paste bullshit that you guys made. So, I don't know. Like you said, it's a two-way street.
Talking about the Oscars is a fool's errand for anyone.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking about the On Cinema Oscar special.
Which is even worse. Yeah. So, nerd news was not even worth talking about this week.
Next.
So, off to a great start. We've already talked about someone almost being beaten to death with a fucking chain. We talked about... someone's windshield getting smashed by someone stomping on it. We talked about Evil Dead tree rape, and we talked about Kevin Feige bitching and moaning, and us bitching and moaning even more.
What other atrocities are to come? Stay tuned.
Guess we'll see. Time to get canceled. Okay, so we're moving on to your segment here.
Mine?
Yeah, because you always say it.
I own it.
This is your segment.
Matt's Recommendation Nation.
Essentially, I look at
Recommendation Nation.
I look at Recommendation Nation as yours because
ding,
Nerd
ding.
News is always the one we bitch the most. I'm a fucking little whiner, so. Recommendation Nation. Let's turn it around here. What do you recommend?
All right. I'm going to recommend a band that I started getting into recently.
Okay.
And I think I'm probably late. Well, I'm definitely late to the game because like they haven't released an album in like 20 years.
Green
or 10
Day?
years.
No.
But Ween, the band.
Okay, I've heard of them before, but I don't think I've ever really... I might have heard some of their stuff, but I
thought they were like a novelty band, and they kind of are a little bit, but I'd only heard of them from back in like 2001 or whenever that Pizza Hut promotion is.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. This is the fucking shit you sent me.
Yeah. So...
I never heard of this before.
They sanctioned Ween, the band, to like write them a new jingle, and they didn't like any of their versions, and they eventually fired them. But I remember when that happened because I saw it on the internet somewhere. They posted like that dirty version, which was so hilarious.
I was like, dude, this is so lazy. It's literally the same thing you sent me that was the clean version, but they added motherfucking. And I was like, huh?
So anyways, I just thought they were a novelty band, but I listened to a couple of their albums and they're awesome.
Huh? Yeah, I'll have to.
They're very influenced by the Beatles, so like they do all kinds of different genres.
I was like, you could have fooled me because like the shit for the Pizza Hut thing was so like.
Yeah, they do a lot of comedy though too. So it's one album in particular is called White Pepper. Okay. So it's like they tried to make it very Beatle-y, so like the White Album and Sgt. Pepper, and it's great. Like great songwriting, great musicians.
I'll have to check it out.
Check them out. I think you'll like them.
So you want to talk to people? Do you have the lyrics maybe written down for this Pizza Hut song that you sent me, or?
It's where the cheese at.
Yeah, it's a lyric.
For when Pizza Hut, I guess, made a pizza that had the cheese like inside the dough.
Yeah,
which is like
weird. Yeah. But the only change was like where the motherfucking dough at, and we were like, I was like, huh?
The thought of Pizza Hut actually using that in their commercial would be so awesome.
Or the regular version, the clean version was like, dude, this is a joke. But I could have seen like it being actually put in a commercial back in like when they commissioned it, because there were a lot of weird commercials. Like there was that Sony one where they had like that squirrel that was like going around looking for a PSP or some shit. And I was like, this is so weird, dude. Like, oh shit, we just had somebody subscribe. Humble CS, thank you.
Thanks.
Another Christmas gift under the tree.
So just for that, I'll throw in bonus trivia about Ween. You know where your name comes from?
Halloween or Wiener?
To the combination of wuss and penis.
What?
Ween. Moving on, what's your recommendation, Nation?
I recommend a little movie. I don't know if anybody's heard of this before, but it's Ghostbusters 2 for the holiday season. I've always been a huge fan of Ghostbusters 2. A lot of people like to just straight up shit on it. You know, I'm not going to sit here and argue and be like, it's the better of the original 2, because, you know. But I saw it when I was a kid, and I never thought it was, like, bad at all. Like, it's still better than any of the other Ghostbusters things we've had so far, in my personal opinion. And it had, like, a soundtrack that was better than the original.
Yeah.
It had that, like,
the Bobby Brown
Ghostbusters, or it had that Ghostbusters soundtrack. It had that, like, Turtles, like, soundtrack, where it was, like, cool, like, R&B, hip-hop, like, you know, like...
late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. But it was, like, my favorite. Yeah. And it was awesome. And it also takes place around Christmas. So,
nice.
You know, that's a holiday film that... I guess if you were doing a list, you could say it was a Christmas movie, but you know how people are like, oh, it's a Christmas movie, just like Die Hard. It's like, okay, dude, fuck off. Like, I'm that guy it's not a real Christmas movie, but it is. I'm that guy that's a real Christmas movie. I'm like, but I like it. I don't know. I've always thought it was fun.
Yeah, I know you've always defended it. Like, I think you're much more of a big Ghostbusters fan than me, but I never really thought the second one was that great. But like, I think it's just because the villain is kind of boring. Yeah. But at least they like tried a new villain as opposed to just repeating the exact same thing as the first one.
Spoiler, in the new Ghostbusters Afterlife, it's like the same villain, which makes no sense, but okay.
They literally just repeated the same thing.
I mean, I like the idea of a new villain being in the second one, and even though it wasn't as, like, I mean, obviously, like, the first one was, like, a god, so the second one, you know, Vigo the Carpathian or whatever, where he's, like, you know, this wizard that, like, puts himself into a painting is, like, I don't know, I just think it's an interesting, I thought it was, I agree with you, I think it was kind of, like, not as cool, because he literally only does, like, stuff in that museum, so it's kind of lame, but, like, at the same time, like, I'd much rather have that than, like you said, like, hey, let's bring back Gozer again. It's like,
and do the same battle that they are, like, come on.
Yeah. So,
all right, that's a good one.
Yeah, I've always thought it has been. Cool. So, let's talk about Oh, shit.
What?
Let's talk about, oh, shit. Weird watches. Woo! Fucking please don't sing my ass.
Watches.
Weird watches. So, this is our third week of doing this. I'm pretty sure. Wait, no. Is it?
Yeah, because we did Manimal and Wheel of Time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because that's right. You picked this one, which is shocking because this is a cartoon. Not that you don't like cartoons, but I think I'm kind of the one that probably is more into that stuff. You're like, so what are we doing this week, Matt?
Bruno the Kid.
Yeah, so...
An inexplicable show.
Yeah.
That I can't even believe exists.
Yeah.
Existed.
This is like Bruce Willis before he like... I mean, he was big, but he wasn't
Dude,
like...
he was at like the height of his powers at this time.
I mean, he wasn't like an asshole at this point.
Right.
Because like... He voiced this fucking cartoon character.
And he was still trying. Like, he put way more effort into this than, like, anything in the past, like, since Looper, basically.
Yeah.
I think was the last good thing that he did.
Yeah. He's, like, become, like, the new Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Or Steven Seagal. Or
yeah.
pretty much anybody that's in the Expendables. Well, not really. I think, what's-his-face cares? Sylvester Stallone. But Bruno the Kid...
Speaking of Oscars...
Oh, yeah?
Recently nominated for Oscar Gold.
Bruno the Kid?
Bruno the Kid should have been.
For Oscar Bowl. So this ran from 96 to 97. So a whole year, if you can believe that. This show ran longer than fucking Manimal. Shocking. Which I actually looked into that actor, and that was literally, I think that guy's like height of his career was Manimal. Did you look into his shit too?
Well, I looked him up.
I kind of felt bad for him because like... You look into his stuff, and literally everything else was like one episode. He did like all these like one-off parts and stuff. So anyway,
sorry if he's listening right now.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, so Bruno the Kid, an 11-year-old becomes the top spy for a top secret espionage agency. It's essentially the premise of this, and we watched like the first the whole thing. We watched the first episode.
They made a cartoon starring Bruce Willis as a little kid. Like, why? Why did this as Bruno, his fictional like, alter ego, who's a singer? How did this happen?
And he's got a man's voice, like a kid that has like a man's voice.
So what'd you think?
I honestly, if I was a kid, I probably would have watched this the whole thing.
Totally. I had the same thought. Like, if I was like 10 years old when this came out, it would have been my favorite show.
Yeah. It reminds me of like the Mario Brothers show, where like when I was a kid, I loved the cartoon parts. But like now when I watch it, I'm like, this is kind of boring. Because there's no like, you know, like to me, it's like when I watch like I like that they do this in shows now, like with cartoons, if they do it where they have like a story that continues. Whereas back in the day, it was like one-off episodes, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of like nothing changes, so it's kind of boring. But like as a kid, I would have like loved this, but this show had like 36 episodes. I probably would have been like trying to like tape all of them and stuff.
Yeah, I thought Bruce Willis was really good in it, like I said, and I thought the writing like was fairly clever. There were some decent jokes and stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
But did you see the cast of this?
Yeah, that's funny that you actually like brought that up because I have like a bunch
of
random names on here. You can go ahead and
Mark Hamill,
Tim
Curry, Bronson Pinchot, Renee Auberjonois, who's Odo.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that because I would have fucked that up.
Ben Stein, Ed Asner, and Ed McMahon and Frank Welker.
Right, and John Rhys Davies.
I even missed him.
Jim Cummings. Quentin Flynn from Metal Gear. Like these are essentially like all of the big names in like acting and voice acting were on this show first, and then they went and
it's crazy.
It was ridiculous because it's like they also had Tony Jay, who was Jarlsberg in this. That I was like, I know that fucking voice. He did the narration from Austin Powers: The Spy Who Shagged Me in the beginning, where he's like, Dr. Evil, thought to be banished to the recesses of space, and I was like, I know this motherfucker's voice. So it was, I don't know, I was blown away. I was like, dude, I can't believe the voice talent they got for this. It was really good. It's out of control. But it kind of makes sense because apparently Bruce Willis was the executive producer and he wrote the title song. So I'm assuming like he had
sang it.
Yeah, he had some. He had some. Which is weird that they don't put that in the IMDb. I was kind of like, what? But
I recommend anyone who's interested just like watch the intro on YouTube.
Yeah,
if you want to hear Bruce Willis totally out of control singing.
There's also like a really weird like thing where he makes a CG version of himself, but it's not of himself. It's of Bruce Willis his real self.
Yeah,
and like he uses that to like trick everybody into thinking he's a actual like a grown person, but like Jarlsberg, his Alfred knows he's a kid. Yeah. So it's like, did he just not tell them that? I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think this is so far the first one we found that was actually like not pure shit. So this segment is worth doing. But I mean, even the bad ones, it's worth talking about because it's like, you know. So I actually, before we get on to anything else, I have. This might be a shit show, but I have. We don't have to go through all these, but there's some interesting Christmas facts here.
Oh, nice.
Christmas was not always on December 25th. Did you know that, man?
Mm-mm.
So.
What was it on?
So Christmas celebrates the birth of Jesus Christ. The actual date is lost to history. There's no mention of December 25th in the Bible, and many historians say Jesus was really born in the spring. Oh shit, we're getting hot takes in here. But apparently, it was coincided with the pagan festival Saturnalia, or whatever. So that's why gifts have both Christian and pagan origins.
Mm.
So.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. We do a Christmas tradition where we burn a wicker man every year.
With one of your neighbors in it.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Christ! Oh, Jesus Christ! It's like, dude, chill out. It's not like you're gonna die. Oh, wait. You can thank Prince Albert for your Christmas tree.
Who's Prince Albert?
Not the penis piercing or the wrestler, but, I don't know, some dude named Prince Albert. Okay, these facts might be shit, sorry.
Almost a spit tape.
Saint Nick was more generous than jolly. Dude, this fucking list sucks. The Dutch gave us the idea to leave cookies and milk. Like, dude, what is this shit?
Dutch.
I do remember this. Coca-Cola played a big part in Santa's image of, like, what he looks like, what people think of now.
Mm.
Which will come into play later on in this episode for Ernest. Okay, dude, this is stupid. Black Friday.
My mind has been blown by these amazing facts.
These Yuletide givings. Black Friday isn't the busiest shopping day, which is not a shock because it's.
What is?
It's this weekend, the weekend before Christmas,
because
everybody's procrastinating like a motherfucker. So, Christmas wreaths are religious symbols. Jingle Bells was... Oh, okay. So this is something people might not know. Jingle Bells was originally a Thanksgiving song. Astronauts broadcast Jingle Bells from... Dude, this fucking sucks. Okay, we're done with this. We're moving on.
Any other clickbait articles you want to check out?
Yeah. Nobody reads comic books, apparently. Oh, God. Okay. So, next, we're going on to to one of the main events here, the American History X, an American Christmas Carol. This is your nomination.
Yep.
This was like randomly something that like I found on. I don't know if you had heard about this before.
I'd never heard of it before.
But like I was on Shout Factory like a couple months ago, just kind of looking around and stuff like at their sales, and there was like one of them was an advertisement for an American Christmas Carol, which is essentially like if they took a Christmas Carol and put it in America, and Henry Winkler played Ebenezer Scrooge. But in this one, he's called Benedict Slade. And I was like, what the frig is this? And it was, it's like a made-for-TV movie in the 70s.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I thought it was interesting because I don't know if I've ever really heard anybody talk about this before.
No, like I said, never heard of it. But when you mentioned it, I was like, dude, Christmas Carol with Henry Winkler, I'm in. Gotta see it.
But yeah, it's an American Christmas Carol is a 1979 American made-for-television fantasy drama film directed by Eric Till and based on Charles Dickens' 1843 novella, A Christmas Carol. In Depression-era Concord, New Hampshire, a miserly businessman named Benedict Slade receives a long-overdue attitude adjustment from John Cena. One Christmas Eve, when he is visited by three ghostly figures who resemble three of the people, I thought that was kind of interesting, whose possession Slade had seized to collect on unpaid loans, assuming the roles of the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future from Charles Dickens' classic story. The three apparitions force Slade to face the consequences of his skinflint ways, and he becomes a caring, generous, and more amenable man. Spoiler alert, it's fucking Christmas Carol, so everybody knows what happens at the end. Except for the Blackadder Christmas Carol, where he's a nice guy, and then, like, the ghosts turn him into an asshole.
Oh, really? Dude, I've never seen that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's like, since, like, all the other Blackadders are, like, assholes, like, he goes through all these trials, essentially, and, like, he becomes an asshole, and that's how, like, I guess Blackadder starts.
Amazing.
So, like, the effects for this were actually done by Academy Award-winning special effects makeup artist Rick Baker, which he actually worked on, I don't know, like a bunch of stuff back in the day, but...
King Kong, the remake.
Yeah.
He was Kong.
He's like, meh. But, like, he's mostly known for his creature design, and he won the Academy Award for Best Makeup a record 7 times from 11 nominations, which is like a record as well.
Cool.
And he won the inaugural award for his 1981 film An American Werewolf in London, which that movie's effects are like still ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
to this day.
So was he like sick here, or just he didn't care?
Yeah,
like a clear low point in his career.
It's not the greatest. That's to say for sure.
Yikes.
I wish I
love Rick Baker. I don't want to. I shouldn't say anything bad about him, but I mean, this is not good.
It wasn't like the greatest, that's for sure. It just, I mean, it also had it's soft. It suffered from the opposite of The Irishman, where it was like, instead of that one like being old men and young bodies,
young spry dudes,
it was a young guy being an old man, which probably, like, not saying that like Henry Winkler could not do it, but like the makeup like kind of didn't help sometimes, because you like look at kind of the age he is now, and it's like he looks a billion times younger than he does as when he's a Scrooge, and you would think that maybe like, or like Slade, and you're like, okay, well maybe they just thought that like they turned him into like a fucking like apparition,
like a caveman.
Yeah.
He's like a troglodyte.
Yeah, he turned into, he was like a wispy crone or something. I'm like, yeah.
What'd you think?
I mean, I'm always down to watch like a rendition of A Christmas Story.
Me too.
I think it's a like.
I want to see every version.
Yeah, they're always good. This one did stuff. Well, this one did stuff that was different that I thought was kind of interesting that they added and stuff. This definitely isn't in my like top Christmas carols. I didn't hate it, but it was also like I feel like they spent a little too much time on certain parts.
Yeah.
There's like there was a mass spending of time on his like younger years, whereas like the
most boring part of the Christmas Carol story.
The present part and the future is like the last 15 seconds of this film. Which I kept pausing it to see, like, okay, when are they going to get to the... Because everybody knows, he goes back to his past to be like, this is all the shit I missed out on. Like, he has a love that he'll never get because he put money and greed over, like, And then there's, present, where, like, everybody's talking shit about him and... well, in some versions. But, like, they're also showing, like, there's all these people you don't get to know that you work with, like Bob Cratchit, his son is going to die if you don't help him or somebody doesn't do something. All this other crap. And then future is you're dead, no one gives a shit about you, and they're crapping on you and talking shit about you because you sucked and all you did was like cause misery, you know. Mm-hmm. And then this one, it's like a whole epic about his like past, and it's like
his lust for automation over automating the workforce. It's like, could this
he
be
essentially
more boring?
becomes like the original 80s businessman that doesn't give a fuck about anything. He's like worse than Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah, I mean, of all the things we've watched for this show, this was the lowest of the low for me. Like, I hated this. I thought it was unwatchable, a super slog to get through. Like, I thought it was awful.
Hey, now you know how I feel when I watch Tusk.
And I thought that they had the gall to like make it like different and Americanized, and all they did was just change the names from Christmas Story and tell the exact same story, only focusing only on the boring parts and not the good parts.
Yeah, it was kind of weird that
why change all the, but Henry Winkler was good.
Yeah, his performance was like legit.
Yeah,
I think he gave a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can even tell. I watched the interview, and
I watched that too.
At first, he was saying like he didn't want to do it because he was like, I grew up watching like Alistair Sims, and like there's no way I can do this. And then like they like talked him into it and shit, and was like, well, do it. You know, you can do this and shit. He was like,
yeah, you can tell he's very proud of it.
Yeah,
which he should be because he's good in it.
Yeah,
but
he's legit as hell. I was like, he should have won an award for his performance, but everybody else was like, you know. They weren't like horrible or anything. Like nobody was. I was like watching it. It wasn't like these people suck. It was just kind of like a lot of times boring. It was like, but this is based on Ebenezer Scrooge. I wanted to do a little thing where like I went on Google and saw what people's top questions about Ebenezer Scrooge were. So
really, that's always hilarious.
What is Scrooge's famous phrase? What made Scrooge so mean? What mental disorder does Scrooge have? I was like, is that Bob Cratchit? Googled that. Why does Scrooge hate Christmas? How did Ebenezer Scrooge die? Is Ebenezer Scrooge a real person? Why was Ebenezer Scrooge so mean? Is Ebenezer Scrooge a villain?
How did he die?
I don't know if that's ever been explained.
Tiny
I would
Tim
assume
blew him away.
Fucking old age. He's like 1,000 when the fucking story ends.
That's like asking, like, how did... like, I don't know. I guess I didn't know where I was going with that. But it's like, he doesn't die in the story.
Yeah.
It's not about...
I would assume they're hoping for some supplemental material. But, spoiler alert, I don't know if that there's ever been anything written officially by the dead Charles Dickens to let us know what happened to Ebenezer Scrooge after the fucking, story's over. They're like, and then he ate a big chocolate cake and died. It's like, okay. Yeah, Weird things to type in. I'm assuming
he accidentally fell off a cliff while driving a Segway.
Yeah. He was like, ah! Why does Scrooge hate Christmas is like something, I guess, I don't really know. I don't know.
Because he's selfish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that he specifically. Yeah, like, I mean,
it takes away from him.
I always thought that like he didn't really specifically like. I think he just hates anything where, like you said, like he isn't making money. So it's not that he specifically hates Christmas. He probably also hates Thanksgiving and other holidays where people aren't working to make him money.
Yeah, and he's expected to give instead of
receive.
Take.
The reason for the season is pleasing. Yeah. So this movie is kind of weird because I started the DVD or the Blu-ray up and it just starts.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? There's just no title first, or like, sometimes in movies they'll have like a thing where they show like, I don't know, some sort of scenery first, or like there's an intro. This is literally, it's like shit's happening and I'm like, okay. But it just starts on the streets of Concord, New Hampshire, December 24th, 1933. So what do you think about Slade handing out the "You Can Do It" cards to the kids that he had printed? from his own personal stash.
The opening of this movie is pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
that, and when he's repossessing, like, he's so cruel. Like,
Yeah, he's going around, like, literally... He's
taking people out of their houses and taking their stuff.
He's a lone person, or, like, essentially... He is one of the first people, it seems like, to introduce layaway, or like pay by pay, or like what is it called, like rent to own, where you like pay instead of like paying it all at once and just paying, you know, the full price. You end up getting 150% of what you really would get for it. He says, or maybe even more, because what he does is then he takes it back and resells it to somebody else. So. Yeah, you see him kind of turn from, like, a regular person to, like, a greedy motherfucker in this film. Which is weird because, like, I was always under the assumption that as time went on, like, he was made that way through, like, business partners. But in this one, it's like he straight up introduces that to, like, other people. So, like, he's even more out of control than Scrooge. Like, he's just like, he goes from like a kid that is adopted and works at a, whatever it's called, like a wood carving, or a place where they make like furniture and other things by hand, to like, you know, freaking, I don't know any, like, I don't know, maybe Ebenezer fucking Scrooge, the fucking super version. I don't know, I can't think of any like businessmen.
Yeah.
So, whoever owns Amazon. Jeff Bezos, I think? Yeah. So, yeah. He just takes a bunch of people's stuff. And it's like... They go to the orphanage and they steal the piano. Or not steal it, they repossess it. That would have been hilarious if they stole it. But he has, like... In this version, he has, like... Ebenezer Scrooge works with, like... Bob Cratchit. I don't know what the guy's name is, but then he has like this like side goon guy that helps with everything. But the guy like never, he doesn't have a story really. He's just in it, and that's it for a little bit.
My favorite scene in the whole thing was when Bob Cratchit like suggests that maybe Scrooge should like take a little bit of, you know, take a different approach or something. Yeah. And he fires him on the spot.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he straight up, like, Montgomery Burns his ass. That's what this guy reminds me of, is he's, like, straight up, like...
Yeah.
No... but it's, like, in this universe, like, the Christmas Carol story exists as a book. Because, like, the guy at the library owns a first edition of the fucking book that was given to his grandfather, which was friends with Charles Dickens. And I'm like... If you have money problems, why the fuck don't you sell that? It's probably, like, you could have, like, a bidding war over museums for it or something. Or, like, you know, like...
Said he just let Scrooge take it and
rip it apart. Yeah, and it's just sitting there in, like, a case. I'm like, dude, anybody could have just stolen that. But it's, like, also, like, at the end of the film, he's like, oh, I'll have a bookbinder come. I'm like, dude, that original one is fucked. Because once it's ripped, it's, like, it's not going to be worth anything. Yeah. So, yeah, they Bob Cratchit says Merry Christmas to the other dude, Joe, and he doesn't say a damn thing, and I think that's the last time you see his ass in the film. He's gone. His name's Thatcher, that's right, because fucking I have a note here about Mr. Slade firing him, which you said, which is like the funniest thing in the film, because he goes on this big tirade about, oh, we should reopen the quarry, and the men need work, and he's like, well, you can tell them their ranks have increased by one more, because you're fired.
Just for even making a suggestion.
Yeah.
Like, you're done.
Yeah, it's like, holy shit. I did have a note that I thought that this was, like, one of Henry Winkler's, like, most, like, you could tell he was given a shit, like, roles, as far as, like, I think he was happy to do it because, like, he was doing, like, the Fonz, and he was kind of like, okay.
Have you ever seen Night Shift with him and Michael Keaton?
No.
Dude, you'd love it. It's so good. Henry Winkler's, like, the straight man in that.
Oh, man, I bet that's great.
They work in a morgue, and, like, they create a brothel like in the morgue since they work the night shift. Like no one will
That's
catch
funny.
them. It's a great movie. But Henry Winkler is awesome in everything.
Yeah.
Like he's in Barry, that show now.
Yeah.
He's great. He's amazing in
I
that.
mean, he's always been good. I just think
Yeah.
this is one of the roles where he essentially carries the whole thing. So
For sure.
And you can tell that he took the, like you said, he gives a shit.
Mm-hmm.
So in this film as well, they have like Thatcher's son is Tiny Tim, essentially, which he calls him Mr. T, which this was filmed in like 79, so this had to have been like a rip on Mr. T, like, you know. Because there's a part where like the ghost of the future comes and it's a black dude dressed in like disco like stuff. And like
It's so stupid.
Henry Winkler's like, because he's like fucking disco and that he has no fucking clue what's going on. He's like, I'm from the far future. I will have to say that's kind of cool that like the ghost of Christmas future dresses in the clothes of like the era they filmed it in, so it is technically from the future, but it's also
Kinda like Rufus.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But it kind of takes away from like how like the ghost of Christmas future is always like death. So he's like doesn't say anything and he's like horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
In this one he's not. He's just kind of like there.
Well, that's how all the ghosts are.
What?
That's how all the ghosts are in this.
Oh,
It's, like,
yeah.
bland, like generic.
Right, but I mean like generally like they don't say anything like the ghost of Christmas future, but in this one he's just like talks a bit and he just kind of is like yeah. So yeah, I don't know, man.
That's just another disappointing part of this. Is like a cool thing about the Christmas Carol story is like, how are they going to do the ghosts this time? You know, and
How are they going to do the ghosts?
How are they going to do them? And in this one, it's just like they're regular people. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you had Rick Baker, you couldn't design up a ghost. Or
The
something?
coolest thing was or one of the coolest things I thought was when his like partner comes back, or like his business like like his boss, and he talks to him, and like at least from what I remember in that one, it might have been in the other ones too, but that's the first time that one of the ghosts shows up, and when he talks his voice has like a weird, you know, like thing to it. And I thought that was cool. I thought it was also kind of interesting that like they took people he knew in his life that he had fucked over and they were the ghosts. But
That's fine.
like you said, it was just kind of like I felt like all the acting for those people was just kind of subdued. Like, especially coming...
Yeah, that's a good one. This whole movie's subdued.
Yeah.
Like, it's very low energy and just super boring.
Yeah, like Henry Winkler is very like high energy and he puts a lot of like oomph into his performance, but like almost everybody else is just like
Yeah, I thought the Bob Cratchit guy was actively like bad. Like,
I think he actively just seemed like he didn't give a shit.
usually the acting is the last thing that fails, as
Yeah.
we always say, but it was subpar in this, I think.
Trav says that Henry Winkler was good in Waterboy.
No, yeah. Great. Yeah, for sure. Arrested Development, he's hilarious in that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like I'm talking about like straight roles because he's really good comedically, but like because like even in Happy Days he was kind of like he was like the character that was like a badass, but he was also like funny. So he's been in so many things. It's, you know, obviously you wouldn't pin down one thing and be like that's it. The rest of his career is shit. But like he's such a great actor, and he seems like super humble too. So it was like one of those things where, you know, there's a reason why we watched this film, Henry Winkler.
Yep.
There's a reason why we kept watching it. It was Winkler, and that was it. I don't know. I'm trying to think if there was really any other standout people in this film, but it's hard. I can't really.
There wasn't.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. The dad, his like foster father or whatever was, I felt like could have been something, but he was so like he had such a small part, and he was also kind of just like you said, everything was just so subdued in this. It was like I don't know. My go-to when I think of Christmas Carol, as stupid as it sounds, is like the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because it's like they take everything and they do different stuff with it, and it's a musical, and the songs are great, and then it's also like they make it interesting and scary and funny enough to where you're like, there's never a time where if it's on I won't watch it, whereas like this film I would never watch again.
Yeah, like that's Muppet Christmas Carol is like the ultimate entertaining movie, and this is like very little entertainment value in it.
Yeah, because there's like different ways they've done Christmas Carol obviously before, and it's like they've done like the ones where they go super dark and scary, which is cool. They've done like the Muppet one where it's like there are parts that are scary when it's like, you know, especially as a kid. But it's a lot of like uplifting and fun stuff, and Michael Caine's not so old at the end of it that you feel like the next day he's gonna be dead, unlike in this film where it's like Slade is like a fucking mummy, so at the end of the film
with a huge protruding forehead.
Yeah.
My favorite is the George C. Scott one. Have you seen that?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going for actual, like, straight up, like, classic, like, there's Alistair Sim, George C. Scott. Like, there's so many great ones. Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart one's really good.
But, yeah, like, it's either, like, a lot of these either go classic or they go, like the Muppets is, like, probably the most out there. But I was kind of just hoping for this to be different enough. And, like you were saying, it was kind of not. Like, he discovers the Christmas Carol book, and then it kind of just becomes a copy of that.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, it was kind of different, and then it was like...
Yeah, I mean, I would say, unless Henry Winkler is, like, one of your favorite actors, like, avoid this like the plague.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah. There was a funny part in this where, like, Slade grows up, and he's, like, essentially Henry Winkler at that time. Mm-hmm. And like his foster mom and dad haven't grown up at all. Like they haven't aged a day. They didn't even put any like fucking makeup on him. I was like,
Rick Baker must have been on like PCP or something like. Or he had like an hour to work to like do all the makeup for the whole show.
Yeah, he didn't give a damn. There was like a part here where like the dad or like the guy says like, when the day of quality ends in this country, we'll all be in great trouble indeed. And I'm like, well, okay. I will have to say, like, the saddest part of the Christmas Carol has always been for me is, like, where you see that, like, he literally he's not going to be with, like, his wife or, like, the girl he was with because of his, like, ambitions. And it's like, oh, God, here we go. But other than that, a lot of this was kind of, like you were saying, it was kind of like the emotions for the present and obviously the future when he like flips out when he sees his grave is always like a big moment for every actor because that's when they get to like ham it up because that's essentially like your death scene.
Right.
So, what'd you think of Henry Winkler's like huge fake bushy mustache in this film?
Didn't look good.
Yeah, it was like...
Looked fake as hell.
Like fucking Dr. Robotnik. It was like fucking... Actually, it wasn't that out of control. But it was like bigger than any mustache I've seen someone wear IRL.
Yeah.
Like, I was like...
It was kind of cool looking.
It was cool, but it was like... I was like, there's no fucking way. That's impossible.
Yeah. You'd have to work on that thing for like a year.
I think more than that, dude. Like, that was like... You'd have to work on it for about 30 minutes to put on that mustache.
A year. Or long.
So he's like... He flashed like $800 in this film. And I was just like, holy shit. But I was like, that's a lot of money in that era. Like, 800... I didn't even write it. I probably should have done the research, but like that one time when I did the fucking... Yeah. This is where I start to get kind of pissed because I write they spend almost the whole time in Slade's past. And then Slade throws his dad under the fucking bus. Only 36 minutes for the rest of the film, present, future, and end.
I mean, there's so many scenes where they're arguing about like the future of the business and like the assembly line versus like handcrafting. Yeah. It's like, I get it. Like move on. Yeah. This is so boring.
Yeah. I will have to say, like, in the present, there was an interesting scene that I don't think I've ever seen in any Christmas Carol, where they, like, visit, like, his ex-girlfriend and see that she's got, like, a daughter and is married and stuff. And, like, that's something that I was like, that's kind of interesting. That's not a bad addition at all. Like, there's a couple small things like that in this film that, like, make me be like, man, they, like, were so close to, like, having, like, a super unique version of this film, but, like, the writers just decided to, like, be like Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Like, yeah, it's called An American Christmas Carol, but that doesn't mean, like, the Muppet Christmas Carol is called, like, A Muppet Christmas Carol, but it's not, like, boring. Like, I don't know. There's a weird line where he tells his kids that he lost his job, and they were like, oh, we thought you killed someone with an axe. And I'm like, what kind of fucking dad is this guy? Like, Jesus. And then they're like, we thought you were going to be hung. And I was like, okay. Like, when I heard that, I was like, excuse me? Some of this, like, writing and acting reminded me of Troll 2, because it was like, the daughter starts crying, and she's like, if you don't get another job, will we starve to death? I'm like, okay. He's like, and me, your mother. It's like, okay. So what did you think about the whole subplot with the clinic in Australia that could heal someone's muscles and get them going again?
It's like, okay.
Yeah. I looked this up, and this is like an actual thing, but like...
Oh, really?
But the funniest thing about this is when Scrooge buys him a ticket, he buys him a ticket for Australia, and like the actual clinic was like somewhere completely like, yeah, so like the clinic to which Benedict sends Jonathan to treat his polio was run by Sister Elizabeth Kinney, founded in 1932 in Townsville, Queensland, over 2,000 kilometers away from Sydney, which is where the last ticket went that Slade gave Jonathan. So he essentially was like,
you'd have to go across like the wilderness or
like
the outback and
with
get eaten
no
by
ticket.
kangaroos.
Yeah, he's just like, fuck you. He's like, first thing, you sound like a Jonathan. Fuck you.
That should have been the movie. Like they have to make the journey across the outback to save Tiny Tim's life.
And like he's beating him off with a cane. Or, I mean, beating them, not beating them off. Anyway, so I don't really know what to say, honestly. Like,
there's not much to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was like the seed of a good idea to do something different that they like did 1% of and then went away from it. Just remade Christmas Carol, but focused on all the wrong parts.
They did have a part in the future where like they're all burning Slade stuff. They paid for it, and I don't get it unless it's like a fake auction. Like they paid hundreds of dollars for a picture of him just to burn it. And I'm like, what? That had to have been some sort of fake auction, because especially with like, if he had just died and they're still in like Depression era America, who the fuck's spending hundreds of dollars on a painting of Mr. Slade and then burning it? Like, okay, he was right. You're all a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
So Winkler starts crying at his grave, and he wants to make a change for once in his life. Gonna make a difference.
He's looking at the Slade in the mirror. Oh yeah.
It's like turns into Captain Neo.
Throws the quarter into the...
He's like, oh. Try this.
Michael Jackson's Christmas Carol.
Dude, that would have been freaking awesome.
Yeah, man.
So we're at the end of the movie, and he's like, hey, he does the whole thing that everybody does as Scrooge, essentially. He's like, I flipped my ways, and blah blah blah, and he's like, try this chicken, put it in the oven, if it doesn't fit, cook it twice. And I'm like,
yeah, that was a little bit weird to me, because like usually in the story he like gives the Cratchits like the goose or like a meal, but in this one he's like, I'm gonna be in this meal now. It's like, dude, get out of here, we hate you.
Yeah.
Like he should have.
Which is funny, because he doesn't, like, he goes and adopts a kid. So like, did he go and eat with them or not. I guess maybe he did first and then I don't know. But anyway, like my thing that was so weird about this is he like gave him this chicken and he told the lady to cook it, and if it didn't fit, to cook it twice. Which is
that doesn't.
How the fuck would that work?
Yeah, it makes no sense at all.
It's like, fuck cooking it twice. If it won't fit, why don't you just cook it once? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, cook this shit twice. It's like, so instead of 40 minutes, however you said, it'll take like 10 hours. Idiot. Yeah, there's just essentially a montage of them giving this stuff back, and everybody's like, oh, I can't believe it. Fucking, this is ridiculous. Yeah, and then he adopts a random boy from the orphanage, which is on the cover of the Blu-ray, which happens in the last 5 seconds of this film, so, like, I had no fucking clue why it was on there. I thought it was just some bullshit cover. It isn't, but it's still bullshit, because it just didn't make any sense. It was like, what? So let's just go on to the interview here where he talks about how this is filmed during Happy Days. We talked about the Alistair Sim thing. Mm-hmm. He said this was like the most difficult yes in his career.
Yeah, he was scared that he couldn't pull it off.
Yeah. So he was like, I got up at 3, shaved, and they put like makeup on for 5.5 hours, and then took it off for 50 minutes. Or taking it off took 50 minutes, and then his face was like burning from the glue and acetone, and they had to put a mustache, so he would go from like acting as an old man to like the young man, and I'd be like,
don't they just film all the old man stuff and get it out of the way?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, this is
Rick
the kind
Baker
of
was,
dumb
like,
shit these people were
on drugs.
Yeah. And then he said, I turned down Danny Zuko in Grease because I thought, well, I had done Fonz and I didn't want to do it again. John Travolta went on to buy a plane. I went home and had a Coke. So that was probably not a really smart business decision.
Yeah.
Man. Henry Winkler could have been in Old Dogs.
Dude.
And
should have been.
What's it called?
Face Off.
Well, yeah. And the one with Robin Williams.
Old Dogs.
Oh, Wild Hogs. I mean.
Yeah, Wild Hogs. Oh, man. Better movie than this.
Yeah. So what would you say, what would you give this movie?
I'd give it a 0.95. Like, there's no entertainment value here at all.
Yeah.
It's the worst version of Christmas Carol out there that I've seen. Not good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I wouldn't go that low. I'd probably give it like a 4.
Really?
Yeah. It's better than Tusk, but...
That's relevant.
You're like, God damn it!
It's irrelevant.
It is. It is relevant. You're right. You're like, I said irrelevant. I just always say that. I think for me, like, this is very unentertaining.
Yeah, it was rough to get
the Henry Winkler stuff is, like, really good. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to give this one a super low rating, but I'd have to give it like a 4 or a 3, because definitely like one of the lowest rating ones we've seen on this podcast for me. Like I said, like there are ones that I thought were worse than this, but like not by much. Yeah. And it's not because like it's like a bad idea per se, like as far as like, you know, doing
there's something there.
Yeah, right.
It's just not this.
It wasn't executed very well. Yeah. And none of that had to do with Henry Winkler, which I feel bad for because he's a super nice guy. It's just sorry.
Yeah.
So you ready to move on to the actual main event?
Let's do it.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Know what I mean? Hell yeah, brother.
Nice.
That hat is hotter than shit. That Christmas hat. I guess it's called a Santa hat, right? Not a Christmas hat.
Look, Santa's got his Christmas hat on.
Santa's got a brand new hat. He's like, I feel good. Na, 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 na. So speaking of feeling good and not being bored at all, we're going to be talking about Ernest Saves Christmas, which was my pick. And I feel bad for that last one because I did kind of pick that one because I introduced you into
the blame
it.
For that one. I really was. I wanted to see it, and I paid the price.
I paid the price.
The ultimate price.
I paid the price.
Of death.
And the price was so heavy. It's like, okay, shut up.
Like, I want to thank y'all for what you do to your bodies. Scrooge was real to me, damn it.
Benedict Slade is still real to me, damn it. It's like, it's a fucking movie. Like, so, what'd you think about when Benedict Slade got freaking R-worded by that tree in Evil Dead?
Like, I thought it was gratuitous.
I thought it was gratuitous, but also provocative. So, Ernest Saves Christmas is a 1988 American Christmas comedy film directed by John Cherry and starring Jim Varney. This is the third film to feature Varney's character? Oh, okay. That does make sense. I just didn't understand it. Ernest P. Worrell. And chronicles Ernest's attempt to help find a replacement for an aging Santa Claus. Ernest helps Santa Claus as he searches for his successor. So before we get too far into this, I looked on Rotten Tomatoes to see what what other films have been named Saves Christmas before.
Okay.
So we've got the 2019 film Elfette Saves Christmas.
What?
Pixie Saves Christmas in 2018. Santa's... No, wait, that doesn't have anything to do with it. It says Santa's Dog. Wow, that's helpful. How Murray Saved Christmas. I guess that's not saves.
Have you heard of any of these?
No. I typed this in like a little bit earlier, and it's like literally... I love this one. The Dog Who Saved Christmas Vacation, and the year before, The Dog Who Saved Christmas. Who gives a fuck?
Oh, starring Paris Hilton.
The Man Who Saved Christmas. But yeah, there's only a couple that is actually like saves Christmas. And the very first one, Ernest Saves Christmas. 1988.
36% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's worse than How Murray Saved Christmas, apparently. That's why I don't go to Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's bogus.
People don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Do you have trivia pulled up or something? Is that
no.
what you're... What do you look...
I was checking to see if Ebert reviewed it, and he did not.
God, what a loser.
I know.
Did you know what's funny is one of the earlier podcasts I was talking about before we went on the air is of our podcast. You talked about some of your reviews you used to leave on IMDb, and I wish that like you had more of those that you could like tell us about.
Because I think we read them all off.
One of them, I can't remember. You were just like, it ended or something, or it was the worst, or like I wish it would end, and I was like, Jesus.
And by it, I meant my life.
Yeah. So one of the things that I found out in the trivia that actually kind of pissed me off was that like the first draft of this had Ernest actually in line to be the next Santa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The like director John Cherry, like he loved the idea. Disney like thought it was stupid and responded, Disney could not fathom Ernest as Santa. They didn't want to distort the legacy. Which is hilarious looking at all the bullshit that they fucking turn out now. So, hence they rewrote the story of Ernest helping Santa find the next guy in succession.
What a mistake.
Yeah, which kind of pisses me off because, like, even as a kid, as much as I loved this film, I always thought the guy they got to eventually be Santa was, like, the limpest part of this movie.
That's my biggest complaint.
Yeah.
Like, that guy sucks.
Yeah.
And there's, like, how many scenes of Santa trying to convince him, and it's just like, dude, this guy sucks.
Yeah,
Get rid of him.
Yeah, why would you try to convince somebody that wants to be Santa when literally there's somebody that is your successor and he's way younger, like Ernest?
Well, Disney making mistakes for 40 years now.
Also, like, he learned how to fly the sleigh. So much so that at the end of this film, fucking the new Santa has to have him fly the sleigh for him for the first night because he's a cuck.
Joe Carruthers sucks.
Yeah.
Joe Carruthers sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. It sucks because that would have been a way better film.
And it would have made more sense.
Also, like, the implications that Ernest then would have lived for, like...
like hundreds of years.
Yeah. And he would have had all, like, magical powers, so, like, in the subsequent films, that would have been hilarious. So this was actually the first movie filmed at Disney MGM Studios, now named Disney's Hollywood Studios. I was like, okay. When Jim Varney was asked why this movie received a PG rating, he replied, "Unusual cruelty to reindeer." Because apparently, like,
why is it PG?
they started molting, and in the 95-degree heat, and their antlers began to, like, falling off, exposing bloody nubs.
Good Lord, man.
Yeah.
What?
So they had to, like, reschedule this and film this 2 months later in Nashville, Tennessee. Like,
Yikes.
in, like, that part. I was just like, Jesus, dude. Like, it's probably, like, why most of the scenes with the reindeer are, like, inside or at the very end of the movie, like, at that warehouse. So I think, yeah, most of my notes are for this because I didn't take a lot of notes for the other one.
Yeah,
this film,
I didn't know that, and I still don't understand why it was PG. Like, there's nothing offensive in this that I can think of.
Yeah, let me look it up here. Ernest Saves Christmas.
So I remember I hadn't seen this since we saw it in theaters in 1988.
Damn,
dude. 5
dude.
years old, but
Holy
I still
crap.
remember it.
Yeah, we used to watch this very often on VHS, and then we got it on DVD. And
I remember really finding it funny when he sang "Oh Christmas Tree."
and he just says, "Oh, Christmas tree," over and over again. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree. And the guy's just like,
So good.
I don't know where you would find, like, why this was rated. Like,
Well, you can see the parents' guide.
oh,
green.
thank you. Sex and nudity, none. Violence and gore, none. Profanity, none. Alcohol, drugs, and smoking, none. That's not true. Offset. Frightening and intense scenes, none. Why was it? Oh, I bet you $1,000,000 they had to do it because Santa punches that guy in the face. So it probably got it just for hitting.
Well, yeah, and they are making a horror movie.
Yeah. There's
Like,
a
it
part
should have been rated R.
where he says, like, die at one point. He's like, die, you son of a... Yeah.
I guess.
So... But Touchstone's
Also,
pictures
Ernest
was...
did... one of the parts I laughed the hardest at was in the beginning when he ejects the passenger from his cab. And, like,
the guy, like, slides out.
Yeah, he slides out, but then there's a hilarious shot where, like, you basically see his dead body in the background. He's, like, not moving.
Yeah. Kevin says, so he can't, but Tim Allen could be Santa?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He
Good
says,
point.
well, I guess he did have experience smuggling packages. Nice.
Dude, genius.
Touchstone Pictures is like they created this so that they could finally start putting out live action films that weren't just G and try to like tarnish their Disney image like of like family stuff, which is fine because they put out a ton of great stuff. I felt like over the years.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're really doing anything anymore, but so Touchstone Pictures presents, in association with Silver Screen Partners the Third, M-Shell Productions, Producers Group Production, which I think that's like the thing they use with the Ernest movies is M-Shell. So the intro of this is Deck the Halls with Boughs of Holly, intro with Coca-Cola Santa marketing. It's like the classic. Mm-hmm. It's like the most Christmassy intro classic that you can think for a Christmas movie for the most part because it's like, here we come a-wassailing. I don't think there's ever been a more Christmas intro for a Christmas movie. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So
it was cool credits, but I will say...
It's not the best of his credits.
It doesn't hold a candle to Ernest Scared Stupid or even Slam Dunk.
Those were like actual
He's the
intros.
baby, he's the boy.
Yeah, it's like, when all he goes down the street, all the men will retreat. It's like, what?
Never forget, Ernest is the baby and the boy.
Yeah. Come on, pass it to me. Back the rod. I'm the baby, I'm the boy. It's like, what? Huh? What's that mean? You were a baby at one point, and you are a boy, so. So, Orlando, Florida, December 23rd, 2 p.m. We've got planes landing in Florida. So, cut to like this typical business guy. It's like, I don't think I've got quite the magic for another trip. That's how I feel every time I go to Pittsburgh.
Oh!
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Got him.
Which, as a kid, like, I never thought of this, but, like, what does the relevance of that guy getting his wish to get it to snow on Christmas have with the rest of the movie? Nothing.
No.
Like, because I always thought, oh, you know, as a kid, like, that's why it's going to happen, or, like, this is going to happen, or maybe that'll let Ernest know where they are, or, like, this or that. But, like, I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. So it was just a heartwarming moment where this random business guy, which is, like, he's pretty much an asshole.
Oh, yeah.
He was like...
He decides to, like, give his team the rest of the night off.
Basically. Just because it snowed.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck you, dude. He was like, if you don't get this deal, you don't have a job. And it's like, dude, it's Christmas Eve. What the hell is your problem?
I did think the scene of, you know, him not recognizing Santa was a little, like, I was like, come on, let's get to Ernest. And that's pretty much in every Ernest movie where Ernest isn't on screen. You're like, where's Ernest? Get him back.
Yeah, Santa has some magic about him in this. The kids just know it's him. Which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. I like the Santa a lot in this movie.
Yeah. He's
classic Santa.
He's another Santa that, like, I'm like, okay, this guy I can believe is Santa. There's been a couple of movies I've seen where I'm like, I don't know if I really believe that. Like, as much as I like Elf, like, Ed Asner was kind of like an asshole in that film as Santa. Mm-hmm. He's like, what the hell's going on in here? I'm like, Jesus, dude, why is this guy Santa? He's like an asshole. So in this film, Ernest's occupation is a taxi driver. And his first customer is probably the sweatiest guy I've ever seen in a film. He's like, they must have not had AC or something. But, like, Ernest is never really sweaty in this film. So.
I noticed one shot where he was, like, really sweaty, and I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, I'm assuming, you know, it's 88.
And they filmed it in the South.
Yeah, it's in Florida. So,
yeah,
like,
in the summer.
Yeah, so they're probably like, yeah. I have an almost supernatural feel for the road beneath my tires. Thrill driver!
Great scene.
Yeah. Ernest's taxi number is 69. Not sure if that was a joke or
what.
That had to have been, like, maybe an implant for, like, the adults, because I never noticed
see it
that
a lot
till
in
now.
this movie. It's like...
Yeah.
It had to be on purpose.
Ernest's passenger in the back is not seatbelted up, so he's, like, sliding back and forth in the back and gets dumped out of the side.
Cracked me up.
There's, like, so many good things in this film that I remember, like, I knew it was coming because I've seen it so many times as a kid. And, like, I was cracking up again, like, every single time. And it's, like, it gives me that same remembered feeling as, like, Harry and the Hendersons, where, like, I can remember, you know, a ton of stuff in that film because it was, like, it just left such an impression on me. Like, holy shit, dude. This film is hilarious.
I remembered a lot from when I was 5.
Yeah.
Last time I saw it. Like, it's crazy.
That's why it's such a shame that, like, Disney was like, well, this one movie underperformed, so, like, we're going to cut the deal. Because, like, apparently while they were filming this film, like, Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg was like, we need to speak to you. And he's like, shit, we're going to get fired. And he's like, well, we've liked the film so much that we want to extend this to, like, a 7 or 9 picture deal. And then they, like, went back on that. Yeah. It's like, dude, fuck you. dude. Like, screw you, man. That's such a stupid idea, because I don't know, I feel like they would have made bank eventually. I mean, even if not, like, they would have made the money back.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because then we got, like, Slam Dunk Ernest, and it was a funny movie, but, like, you see the money in this film, and you see no money in that film. It's like...
This is like a real movie.
Yeah. So, Ernest gets major airtime with his taxi, and there's, like, sparks, which I don't know how the hell that happened.
I always love in movies where, like, they just have the ability to, like, jump cars whenever they want. Like,
but it's, like, obviously on, like, a rail.
Yeah.
It's, like, boom! Like, comes over a non-hump.
It's like the Blues Brothers style.
Yeah. And it, like, he absolutely destroys 2, like, Japanese dudes' luggage. And they're like, what the hell? Like, flipping out. And, like, the guy was like, it's not my fault. I was just like... so the one dude is, like, literally, like, dead. He's, like, comatose. And I remember this part in the film because it's, like, he's trying to get his, like, thing out the back and he completely rips it. And then, like, bundles up a bunch of shit and, like, throws him into the luggage collector with his luggage. And then he, like, runs away from these dudes. And as, like, Santa's talking to this business guy, he's, like, in the background, like, running away. So, do you remember like these guys? I don't know how many Ernest films you've seen. Like I've seen quite a lot.
I think
of
I've
these.
seen almost all of them, if not all of them.
But like, do you remember like in a bunch of these movies, like the Chuck and Bobby characters?
Yeah. Although I've been watching the show,
Mm-hmm.
Hey Vern, it's me, Ernest, and they're in every episode of that.
Yeah. But you remember them from like the movies and stuff. Like,
Maybe one or two others.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, I remember like they were predominantly in this one for sure, and they were in a couple other ones. But in like Ernest Scared Stupid, they had like Bobby was in it, but like the Chuck guy was somebody different.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what the? I guess I never really realized how many times they do this. But Chuck, where he like screams and then like makes his eyes wiggle. He doesn't. They
He
do
like
like
turns into a velociraptor.
yeah. He's like, "Whee!" He does it like 5 times, dude. It's ridiculous.
I'm not the biggest fan of these guys. Like,
yeah, I think this was
they
like
think they're a lot funnier than they really are.
yeah. I think this was like something that like was huge in like Tennessee, like these characters. Like
you're in every episode of the show, and it's like
I feel like this would be like if me and you had a show and then we got some of our friends on it and maybe they weren't as funny as we thought they were. But I think all our friends are funny, so I don't know. Maybe that's how this went.
I'm not going to go down that road.
But you know what I mean? I'm just saying I think this is what happened because I think Ernest must have, like, Jim Varney and them must have really liked these guys because they were in everything. But, like, I've never seen them in anything after this or before this. So yeah. I know they have careers, but it's like, I don't know, I equate that to, like, the Red Green Show. But, like, even the Red Green Show, those guys are funny. Like, these guys were not... I don't know. I think as kids, as a kid, I probably thought they were funny, maybe. But like as an adult, I was just like, they're tolerable. But like,
who's the one that doesn't talk? The old man,
Bobby. It's like
this, he's just funny
yeah,
looking.
Yeah,
like
he's just a guy that has no teeth. I was gonna say mouth, but that
he has no mouth.
But yeah, I don't know. It was one of those things where it kind of reminded me of like a bad Penn and Teller act because like for the most part, the one dude didn't talk. And he just reacted, but he was smarter than the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah. It was definitely out of the duos I've seen. I mean, they're no, like, Bulk and Skull, Bebop and Rocksteady, fucking Abbott and Costello. Like, they're the worst duo I think I've seen. So, I just wanted to bring that up because I couldn't talk about, like, this without talking about that because it's like, pretty prevalent.
Oh, yeah. You keep cutting back to them every other scene.
Because they're in charge of the reindeer, which it's pretty obvious that this was filmed like in Tennessee because like we were saying, like once you find out about that, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense because they're cutting back and forth. It's like, so what do you think about the sticker that Ernest has in his glove compartment that says "Keep Christ in Christmas"?
Yeah, I noticed.
I was like, I didn't see what else was in there other than like the 3D glasses he gives Santa because he said he had like he said it was too bright.
Yeah. I
was like, okay.
He's used to working at night.
Oh. I'm like, so do you just not go out a day or what? Also, like, he works at night one day a year. Does he sleep the rest of the year? Or does he just, he's on a schedule where he's always on at night just in case Christmas is on a different day? So Ernest causes a multi-car pileup crash due to stopping for like one single Christmas tree that fell off a truck. And at the end of the whole thing, when he gets the tree, like one car is driving backwards, and I'm like, how? But like, I always thought this part was funny because he's always like, or he was like, opens the one door and he's like, here, hold this, and he like throws it into the back seat with Santa, and it smashes out the other window. It's like, I'm like, Jesus. I am one with the Yuletide. Then we
Thrill driver.
We go back to Bobby and Chuck having a fucking M versus V discussion. Helper Elms versus Elves. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
It's not the best.
So, 3 little words. They never get old. Please and thank you.
Very true.
Yeah. So then we have our first appearance of, like, the titular, I guess, kind of, like, kid insert in this film, which she's like, I think, the oldest that they've had in these films so far, which is, thank God.
Yeah, it's not a baby.
It's her name. I forget what her actual name is because they say it at the end of the movie, but like she's Harmony Star, which I was like, dude, that's not a good name for a character. Not. It sounds like a bad profession name.
I don't know what you mean. Go on.
Which actually, I had one more piece of trivia that at first I wasn't going to bring up, but now that we talked about it, I'm going to. Apparently, the director, like John Cherry, had to hire somebody to like watch after this lady, like this girl or whatever, because she was like getting too friendly with everybody. I was like, Jesus! Really? Yes!
That's weird.
So we got our first impression of the night, or of the film. Ernest does an impression of John Wayne. So this film is awesome because like it has the Ernest costume changes and
I was worried that I couldn't remember if any of that was in there, and when they started showing up I was like, yes.
I knew for sure that the snake guy was in it and the mom.
I think the mom is probably my favorite of all of his.
She's also got, I think, the most reoccurring because he's just like, he dresses up in drag as like a mother character that has like a neck brace on for some reason.
She's like super dramatic and always complaining about everything. It's so hilarious.
Santa is trying to pay Ernest for the taxi ride, which comes to $32, and he gives him fake money, and Ernest says, "Hey, this ain't real. This bears the resemblance of one Mr. Funtime." And I was like, dude, it's just like, why the fuck did Jim Varney have to die? It's just like, he's so good. Like, I don't know. I think this is like the one person we've pimped out more than anybody else in this podcast.
I think so, but deservedly so.
Yeah, I was about to say
like
that.
Every line, like he makes a meal out of. Like, he's so good.
I really wish they would have done like a Christmas Carol with him as Scrooge.
Dude! Amazing.
Yeah. So this dude's doing a puppet show, but he's not behind like a piece of wood or anything. He's like behind a magnifying glass. So I don't know what the hell that was all about. He's talking about the dinosaurs dying due to Ice Age, which, I guess that was the whole thing in '88, which I never really thought about that. But the Alvarez hypothesis is the mass extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs and many other living things during the Cretaceous extinction event that caused by the impact of a large asteroid was first suggested in 1980. So 8 years, and he's still talking bullshit.
And you put in the man hours on this one.
Hell yeah.
Do the research.
I feel bad because I didn't put a lot of man hours into the other one, but that's mainly because it was boring. But I put in quite a lot of time.
I put in the hours trying to stay awake through that slog.
Oh! The gulag. The gruel. So this dude, this fucker, comes out of his Corvette or whatever, and he's like, "Jingle bells, checkbook swells, big deals on the way." I'm like, this guy's a fucking dick. Like, I guess I never really realized. I think rewatching it, because I haven't seen it since I was a kid, I was just like, what the hell is like this guy? It's like, it's 1988, and this guy's still dressing like freaking. He just was watching like Miami Vice because he's wearing the blazer with the rolled up freaking, and he thinks he's hot shit. So yeah, Christmas sleigh, which I remember because of the horror theme, which they show later. So this is actually the only Ernest movie where like Vern is actually a part of the film.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Like a big chunk of the movie is from Vern's perspective.
Yeah.
It's like, why? It doesn't really matter. It's just funny.
Ernest says, "I taught him everything he knows about nuclear physics." I was like, what?
It's funny in the show, "Hey Vern, it's me, Ernest." Like, he calls him Vernon a lot, which is just weird to hear. He's like, "Vern! Vernon!"
Yeah.
Like, dude, his name's Vern.
Yeah.
Don't call him Vernon.
That's hilarious.
It's weird.
Yeah, the Vern segment's awesome because it's from the first person, like the lens and everything, and it's just Ernest, like Jim Varney hamming it up for the camera, like he would always do for his commercials where he got his big start. So like it's just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I don't know.
Like the scene where he's like destroying his house
to put up that tree that doesn't fit. So, and then Ernest is sipping straight out of the punch bowl. And it's so I guess we'll talk about this, like, where I noticed that Jim Varney had, like, a red eye. This is the first time I noticed this in this scene. But later on, I see that there were other parts that this happened. And I couldn't find anything online about this, anybody else noticing it, or, like, any trivia about it. So I don't know if, like, you know, like, you were... I don't know if you were joking, you might have been serious, but you were talking about how, like, maybe one of the little shits gave him pink eye or whatever. But it looks like a busted blood vessel or something. So
yeah, it's like maybe when he was doing the mother character, he was like, oh, so hard. Blew out his blood vessel.
Blew out his O-ring.
Yeah.
So, like, I forgot about... I forgot about how ridiculous this is, because, like, Ernest is pulling on this wire out of the wall, like, for no reason. Like, they never explain why. It's just he's, like, pulling it out the fucking wall.
Eventually he gets to the chandelier.
Yeah, it's like, why?
Because it's funny.
Yeah. So they're fingerprinting Santa, and his, like, actual fingerprints have snowflakes in the middle of them, which is, like...
a funny touch.
Are they... Is it on his actual finger? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So Ernest opens up the sack, and he, like, discovers that Santa's the real Santa. He's like, holy shit. Like, because when he opens it, it's, like, magic, like, which is an interesting thing, because usually they never really show, like, how it works, but, like, in this one, it's, like, you pull out, like, an orb, and, like, I guess whatever you need, if you're Santa Claus, will, like, be there, but, like, when Ernest does it, it's just random crap.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody else that tries it. So this part, like, when he was pulling out the different toys and stuff, it kind of reminded me of, like, the Beetlejuice cartoon, because it was, like, him and Lydia for, like, Harmony and, like, Ernest. The
Harmony character was also a little bit of a bummer for me in this movie.
I always liked her. I thought she was great, yeah. But when I first saw it, I was, like, younger, so, like... I was also, like, I've seen it quite a lot, so, like, I never, like, hated the character or anything, but it's kind of, like... I feel like...
I guess there had to be some kind of drama in this.
Yeah.
Like, she, you know, at one point...
You almost feel like this wasn't an Ernest film at first, and then he kind of got put into it.
Yeah.
But
it betrays Santa Claus at one point, so...
I always, like, wish that, like, the Joe thing hadn't been a thing in this movie.
Dude, I was hating on that big time.
Because, like...
You said it, but, like, I wrote it down. What noodle?
He sucks, dude. They said, what noodle?
He sucks.
Dude.
The character sucks. The actor sucks.
What noodle?
What noodle? What noodle? And the fact we have to see Santa asking him over and over and over and over again.
Like, essentially, like, pleading, like, become Santa. And I'm like...
He never expresses, like, any interest in doing it. It's like,
until, like, the last second for no reason.
Right. And then they try to make it all heartwarming and stuff. And it's like, you haven't really earned that.
Yeah. So they put Santa in a cell with all these other out-of-control characters, and this one dude's wearing a shirt that says, "Eat 'em raw."
Dude, I didn't notice that.
And, like, it's, like, cut off at his, like, stomach. I'm like, what? Eat 'em raw.
I did crack up when later when Santa like has them all singing Christmas carols in there.
Yeah.
And like there's the joke where the guy in like solitary confinement sings with like the voice of an angel.
Yeah, he's like perfect.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
And then everybody claps, and I'm like, how many people do you have locked up for Christmas? There were like, this was like an actual prison, not like a county jail or anything. December 24th, 7 a.m. Ernest has a mailbox that has a train on it, and his whole front yard is like decorated hardcore.
Yeah.
So Ernest starts talking about how he wants to know how Santa got into his house when he was a kid. And
because he didn't have a chimney.
Yeah, and like he's thinking that like he turned into like ooze and like went through like the ducks, and then he like oozed through the vent covers, and I'm like, he's like, ooze. There are parts in this like I do. There are parts in this that like I won't completely think that like Harmony's the greatest character ever, because like she has an ongoing thing in this where she doesn't believe that Santa exists, even though they've already seen the sack work. Like,
yeah,
I feel like that's mainly just bad, like crappy writing, because it's like I didn't think that the actress was bad. I thought it was just kind of like
she's kind of a sourpuss.
Why did you keep like? She's just, yeah, I mean, like, she's, like, the character that's, like she's the what's it called, like, runaway, like, kind of, like, attitude, like, punk, not really punk, I don't know, like, girl, which is fine, but, like, they make her kind of an idiot, because it's like, dude, you've seen magic, like, what do you... She's like, I don't believe in Santa, but I've seen this magic happen, and then she, like... It's like I don't know. It's just stupid. So Ernest is doing the cartoon thing where you're flipping pancakes and like they're sticking to the ceiling, and then at the end they like all fall onto one plate perfectly, and like I don't know how they got them to like stick, because they hit and they're like, boing. And
magic.
He burns his hands, and he has like literally a bowl that's filled with butter.
Yeah,
and I'm like, Jesus. And he's like, lots of butter.
That was cracking me up, because he's like,
yeah.
Ah!
Yeah, in every single one of these movies, Ernest lives somewhere different. But I always look at these kind of like a Bugs Bunny cartoon, where like each feature is like different, obviously. Like, same character, different predicament. Like, you know, it's essentially what this character is. But it's probably why it's so good. Alien goats. Santa getting the prisoners to sing 12 Days of Christmas, as you said.
That was great.
When he's talking to the kids, and then he's like, that's right, yuck it up. It's like, okay. I also realized, like, when he dresses up as, like, the snooty guy, and Harmony is dressed up as, like, the reporter of the governor daughter, like, his fucking teeth are huge. Him and, like, Steve Harvey should have, like, a teeth off.
Also, like, Jim Varney.
Yeah, it's like JYM. Jim Varney's got some big chompers.
Get that man to the gym. He's Jim Varney.
So they're like, he's like, who's this guy? And he's just like, my name's Santa Claus. And he's like, you've got this guy in here with these normal criminals. This guy's like mentally, you know, like unstable. And this one guy stands up and he's like sticking up for Santa Claus, saying that he really is Santa Claus. And I'm like, this guy looks like Spencer Nolan Rice's dad or grandfather. He's like a lanky motherfucker. So I don't know if we've talked about this before, but like in these films, like Ernest comes off like everybody thinks he's like an idiot and stuff, but like he always comes up with these plans that always work.
He saved Christmas.
Yeah, but like so
he manages to like talk his way of like getting a prisoner out of jail.
Well, no, like yeah, like he dresses up and completely is smarter than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, is he just like pretending to be stupid or making people think he is? Like, is he like a Yoda or something? Or like he's like the character that's like the unassuming, like, you know, I forget what that trope is called, but he like the character like makes everybody think he's like an idiot, but he's really like a master.
I think so.
Because it happens in every film. Like,
well, that's why it's so hilarious. Like when he he knows how to fly the sleigh.
Yeah.
Right? But then, like, he keeps, like, destroying it.
Yeah!
As he's going. It's like, that's what makes Ernest great.
Yeah. But it's just, I guess maybe I had thought about it before. Maybe we had talked about it, but I always thought it was, like, just until now, I was just like, wait a minute. So he's essentially tricks every single person, and nobody ever thinks that it's just a dude dressed up, and they're like, wait, I know who you are. And he's able to con police officers, like you said, into getting this guy out of prison. Like, he's the
ultimate underdog.
Yeah. I don't know if those correlate, but he could be. He is. So after a certain amount of time, the magic fades, and they have to hand down the power to someone else. That's like the whole premise for like why this guy's like looking for a person to take on his like mantle. It's essentially the original Santa Claus, I guess, like with Tim Allen, where it's like, well, I guess in that one he kills Santa Claus, but it's like, you know, they just pass it down. It's not like one dude that's like thousands of years old. It's, you know, you do the job for like 150 years or more, and then you like, you know, give it to somebody else, and then essentially you, I guess, stay an old person and then die. I don't know, but it's an interesting premise. It was just like we were saying, they handed it off to the wrong guy.
Yeah.
So Ernest dressed up as like his old mother character with a broken neck, and delivers awesome lines like, "You have two sons, one good, one bad, and one with my luck, wouldn't you know it, the good one dies." And don't side with him, honey. There's no future in it. She's like, "I had to walk all the way from the airport. I'm going to die." Yeah. So like Ernest as the Snake Wrangler, another classic film role character.
Yeah,
one of the
Snake
greats.
Wrangler's hilarious.
"All these movie people want is pythons. You want one for your boy? I gave one to my boy last year." And then he starts singing like some like Southern hymn because essentially it killed his son. He's like, you got to watch out, they'll knot up on you. And the guy just like lets him through because he doesn't want to like check the snakes. He's like, that's okay, go on through. It's like another way that like he was able to completely fool everybody and do whatever he wanted. So Santa makes his way onto the set to talk to Joe. Christmas Sleigh, a wonderful film. And then you find out that it's actually like a horror film. And like there's like a monster that like, it's like a gill man with like,
yeah, the creature from the Black Lagoon shows
with like tinsel and stuff on it. And it like comes through the door and he's gonna kill it with a shotgun. And I guess they're like making a horror film for Christmas. And Santa's like doesn't understand the meaning of the word sleigh. He's like, "What?" He's like, "I know what you mean." And he's like, "No, sleigh, like SLAY." And he's like, "It's a horror film where like, you know, a monster comes and terrorizes and scares children." He's like, "Terrorizing children, you say, at Christmas?" And he's like, "There." He like knocks out the fucking director. I was like, Jesus. That was always a part in the movie I also remembered because like he's like, "Christmas sleigh, yo."
And you know, Loser, Joe Carruthers doesn't want to use profanity. It's like, dude, you read the script. Like when you
he says die, but he doesn't want to say like a cuss word. Like you're fine pointing a gun at like someone and saying die, which that would already like your image would be like different from there if you're trying to like somehow keep your image from like a show that got canceled already. Like, I don't know. I would say he's kind of an idiot, but he is an idiot. Like, either don't do this film and try to like do something else that's like more Mr. Rogers stuff. You're trying to keep that up, or like take the role and stop being a bitch about it. Because like at one point he like tries to get them to completely rewrite the film so there's no like violence in it. I'm like, it's a horror film. What the hell? Like you said, he read the script, so I always thought this was weird when they like bring over the snakes and like dump them in the truck. And it's like they're in a bunch of water. They're like blah, blah, blah.
The real snakes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That he like ends up just tossing them over his shoulder. I'm like, Jesus. It's like, fuck these snakes. Time to throw them back into the Florida Everglades. And then like they're all stuck to his face, the fake ones. And I'm like,
that was hilarious.
He's like, wow. I'm like, go. So for my money, like, when Joe shaves off his beard, he, like, looks even worse. Like, he looks like shit.
Get rid of him.
We've got Harmony with her taking of the Santa sack, and she's up to no good. I guess we already talked about that because we were talking about how, like, he's such a wet blanket. But what'd you think about, like, the elves that show up?
That was a nice touch.
Yeah.
The Christmas elms.
Yeah.
Or the helper elms.
They're like two dwarves or like little people that are like older. They're like actually like up in the years and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a male and a female. And yeah, I always thought they were pretty cool, honestly. Yep. This part, I never thought about this, but it's kind of weird. He's like, don't blow it, Elrod, and we got a lot at stake here. I'm like, never heard someone be called Elrod before. But, and Ernest running over the fucking tire spikes, which, I don't know. I was just kind of like, he did the classic, he messes up as soon as he says he knows what he's doing, and then he's like, it's like, okay. So, I thought you were gonna, or not thought, you said you were gonna talk about this, or you had some, like, maybe, like, theories about this, but, Joe is at the Diamond World Pictures headquarters, and in the background there are two graphs, and one's, like, a line graph, and, like, the other is a bar graph, and they both show that in past years, it's been up here, and then it's, like, slowly, like, been going down, like, the sales have been horrible. Like, what was your...
Well, I really was going to talk about how much Joe Carruthers sucks as a character. Mm-hmm. And, like, the whole movie subplot is, like, if you get rid of it, it enhances this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it really drags everything down.
Well, it's weird. I always felt like, yeah, like we were talking about, like, his...
It's so stupid and, like, I don't know.
Like, they couldn't have cast a worse person to play that character, too. And, like, there's no need to have all this unneeded crap. You could have just had Ernest be the next guy in line to be Santa, and it would have been a billion times better, like they wanted to do originally. But, yeah, what do you think about that? I don't understand why they had, like, like, why you would sign with a company where in the background they had graphs that said, hey, guess what? We used to be good, but now we suck. I just thought that was so weird.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So now we're going to talk about probably, like, one of the best parts of the film where he, like, is flying the reindeer or whatever. When he's talking about May the Force be with you. And I was just like, dude, I completely forgot about that. They're, like, up flying around the Earth, and he's like, I need oxygen!
Yeah, they go into orbit.
Jesus!
They go into space.
But speaking of that, like, when they're up there and, like, they're eventually about to come back into, like, what's it called? Like, into, like, actual, like, the atmosphere. Like, they're up in actual space with no oxygen. And I'm like, so does the sleigh have, like, an atmosphere? Or I guess Ernest is just invincible because he's not having to breathe oxygen.
Yeah.
So, fucking Ernest being chased down by planes, which was always kind of weird because it's like, how does Santa go around that every year? Maybe he's got a radar. Who knows? Or an anti-radar, I guess you would say. He's got a radar. If you have a radar, someone can't see you, man. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the movie when I was a kid. I always laughed at this, where, like, he goes through a toll booth to, like, and he says, oh, Merry Christmas, like, really quick.
Yeah.
And, like, then they go into warp speed and stuff. So Joe becomes the new Santa Claus, and for some reason it puts a suit on him. And it's just, like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's like, yay.
Yeah, it's like Joe sucks. So the Ernest and the elves are going around, like, the Earth faster than Superman does, essentially, in, like, the movie. It's like, Jesus! And then this part, they go when they finally stop. Nobody moves, nobody dies. It's like Jesus. So, and then the classic. They're like going down, like straight down to where they are, like waiting for Ernest, and they stop at the last second, and he's like, air brakes. And I'm like, what? I always thought that was so funny. Like, I don't know, Ernest is just so good. It's just like this whole time, it's like, why isn't it? Like, Santa was fine, and almost everything else was fine about this. It was just every time they would go to, like, essentially, sadly, Santa begging Ernest to be, or not Ernest, Joe to be the next Santa. It was like, dude, fuck off. Like, come on. This guy sucks. Like, find someone else. I don't remember this in the film, but I guess the very last shot is, like, the Easter Bunny. And I'm like, were they hinting at that being, like, the next one?
Ernest Saves Easter.
Yeah. And, of course, Chuck does the screaming and the weird eye thing for the 100th time in this film. He's like...
He turns into, like, a raptor.
Yeah. I was like, shit. Yeah, that's really all the notes I have on Ernest.
Great movie.
Yeah. It's also a great movie. Or is it? You decide. So, yeah, what are your final thoughts on that one?
I'd give it a ranking of probably a 7.95.
Yeah.
The only thing bringing it down are, like, the non-Ernest scenes.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much every Ernest movie.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, I don't think this is as good as Ernest Scared Stupid, just because that movie has more gags.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, doesn't have some of the lulls that this one has, so.
Yeah.
But it's Ernest. Gotta love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd put this, like, I don't know. I don't even know if we were doing ratings back then. So, when we were doing, like, the Ernest Scared Stupid. So, if I had to rate this one, I'd put Ernest Scared Stupid at, like, a 9.95. And then I'd put this one, like, at an 8 or a 7. Because I like Christmas, but at the same time, it was, like you were saying, it's like the Joe parts were shit.
Yeah, it's not like that they were just okay. It's like, it's some of the, like, worst scenes in recent memory.
Well, it sucks because, like, with these two films, it's like the Henry Winkler parts were, like, the only good parts. But, like, in Ernest, like, Ernest was with a lot of the film, and, like, even the stuff that wasn't him didn't necessarily mean it was bad. It was just, like, it was essentially it was the opposite. Like, so, like, one character made that film awesome, and in this film, it's like, Joe made this film shit, somewhat. So, yeah, like I said, should have just made Ernest the next fucking Santa.
Would have made actual sense.
Disney, as usual, a bunch of dumb sacks of shit. So, what are we doing next week, Matt?
Next week, my pick.
Yeah.
So I want to pick. I've been wanting to pick this one for months, but every time I'm about to choose it, like, you've picked a black and white movie.
Can't have two black and white films back to back.
But we're going back to Ed Wood's masterpiece, Glen or Glenda.
The 1953 drama exploitation film written, directed, and starring Ed Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this will be interesting.
It should be fun to talk about.
So, and then our weird watches will be the first episode of Warehouse 13. I've never seen this before.
I've never heard of it.
Seems interesting. It's a sci-fi kind of deal. So, we never know until we do. So, at first this was going to be like our Christmas episode, and it still is, but like, well, I guess we'll have an episode next week before Christmas because we weren't sure what things were going to happen next week. So, but yeah, you have anything else to say about this whole debacle, this Christmas fiasco? You have your you have your Christmas shopping done for the year? Nice. Good job, sir.
Yeah. Nope, another perfect podcast in the books.
Yeah, in the pocket. Did you have any? I'm like, do you have any like road rage Christmas stories? Like, give me the fucking presents. Oh man, we kind of messed up. I guess I don't really have any of those, but I was gonna talk about like any shopping disasters for Christmas, but I can't think of any off the top of my head, honestly.
No.
Yeah. I've been lucky. I've been lucky. No. I've been lucky enough to not to run into those, thank God. Except for when
I went Christmas shopping and then I was beaten with the
you
chain.
shit your pants. Because they beat you with chains till you shit your pants. But, yeah, I don't know. Retail, I used to work retail, and that was kind of a shit show, but it was never like... Actually, no, okay, so look, one time when I worked at GameStop, there was a dude that tried to, like, do, like, an insurrection in line for, like, Black Friday.
Oh, really?
He was like, we don't have to take this. They're making us stand in line for this shit when they've got it all along.
They're making us.
Yeah, we don't have to take this, guys. And it was like he was trying to be, like, freaking, like, Les Mis over here, like, doing this big, like, dun 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 dun. He's like, 4 score, and everybody just laughed at him and told him to fuck off. But that was like, and then two people got into a fight, and we almost had to call the cops on them. But that's about it. Yeah, it's just like people being idiots. I never have been a part of it. Like, I've never actually like got into it with anybody. But I'm usually like, if something like that's gonna happen, I'm like, I'm just gonna go up here. So, everybody, Merry Christmas. We'll be back next week.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.